Certainly, I hope we'll be able to have Minister Crossman here to ask him questions at another time, but I'm really glad that, that you're here, Minister Allain, to answer some questions today. So I'm going to start by asking, so in the new plan, it talks about, as part of the government commitment to keeping a price on carbon, the provincial government will continue to deliver a carbon pricing system that is fair to New Brunswickers and strategically invest carbon tax revenue into climate change initiatives through the New Brunswick Climate Change Fund and provide transparency on expenditures. And so given that the Premier today announced that that system is going to be different, the federal backstop will be used. Can you explain what's going to be happening in terms of the carbon tax revenue and the climate change fund?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the member of Tantramar, Memramcook-Tantramar. So today the provincial government is choosing to re-evaluate its position on the federal carbon tax to ensure the best outcome for New Brunswickers. So as a result, today the Premier announced that we will be adopting the federal backstop on carbon pricing effective the 1st of July 23. More specifically on the monies for the carbon tax, as you know, once we're actually losing the government of New Brunswick, all revenues. They will not be redirected through our old plan, the monies from the carbon tax, which was about 4 cents, was redirected to government. We made some commitments on that. Those commitments were approximately $200 million in provincial carbon recycling commitments, which included, out of that $200 million, $150 million in tax reduction, including the April 2020 gasoline and motive fuel reduction, personal income tax reduction in 21 and 22 that particularly benefit low and middle income New Brunswickers. And we will also maintain the funding of the climate change initiative through the climate change fund of $47 million. So with the backstop, those monies that government will receive, the New Brunswickers will receive 4 checks, up to $992, I think, in average. The commitment made by our government today was those commitments that were made by the carbon tax will move forward and will be used by general revenues. So it's a good day for New Brunswickers. It's an investment in our future, and I think we're aligning ourselves with all the provinces on carbon tax. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'd like to ask you about public transportation. How much money is being directed towards public transportation, the public transportation file, and what do you envision coming together for that file for New Brunswickers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to the member of Memramcook-Tantramar. So specifically on action number 6 in the action plan, number 6 indicates support regional service commissions in developing and implementing regional transportation plans for each region by 2023 to increase accessibility, affordability, and availability of the community and public transportation services and work towards integrating regional transportation services. So as we went through the white paper this December 2021, one of the new responsibilities of the Regional Services Commissions is to work on transportation and having a transportation plan. Hence the reason why tomorrow morning, the Minister of Regional Development Corporation, RDC, Régent Savoie, who has been tasked to move forward on this specific action item, will provide you even more details and budgetary items on that. Just to maybe say it in English at the same time, on transportation, our climate change plan also includes monies and credits from $5,000 to $10,000 for electric vehicles. People in New Brunswick who have been wanting electric vehicles wanted some credit, so we moved forward last fall to move on that credit given to people that buy electric vehicles. So.
On that
Thank you,
note,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. On that note, people in my area, and I think other people who live near borders will relate to this, we have a different and unique situation where we cross the border sometimes to purchase things, and there are many people who it's actually faster to buy an EV that will then be on the road in New Brunswick to buy it in Nova Scotia, just across the border, but they aren't eligible for the rebate, but it's something that's impacting my community. So I wanted to raise that since you mentioned EVs. So it sounds like I'll need to ask Minister Savoie how much money is going to transportation, is that right? And so can you talk about how it's going to be coordinated across the province, and will it, I don't know if you can get at how much of the responsibility for funding will be with the province, but I'd like to know how it's going to be coordinated across the province and what kind of timelines we're looking at to ensure there's public transportation across the province and in municipalities.
Early in the process during local governance reform, transportation was one of the highlights that people talked about during consultations. Housing was better, by far number one, and policing services and fire protection services. Those were 1 and 2. I think transportation and access to the internet would have been 3 and 4. And to a lot of our surprises, the importance of libraries was number 5. So, because the libraries are becoming more and more our electronic platform, just not books, but the access to internet through community libraries. More specifically on regional transportation. So, hence the reason why it is becoming a responsibility of the regional service commissions. Some regional service commissions are way ahead of the way ahead on this file because, well, they have actors transportation or community transportation already. As I look at my colleague from Le Comté d'Albert here, there is a specific great program called Rural Ride across the province. So we're working on the backs of those projects because they're great projects are in existence right now. So for 2023, the objective is to make sure that we have a strategic plan. Hence the reason why RDC is the allotted department because they are, transportation never landed on anybody's, just like when we talked about a study on airports, everybody around the tables always looked at transportation, but nobody really owned it. So that's why we're moving forward with RDC owning this number 6. So the regional service commissions have to do a plan by the end of the year, and not every regional service commission will have the same plan. As I indicated, some of them already have that community transportation in, whereas some are regional service commissions or regions do want to have any access to any service. So it's important that we move forward, and I commend the RC of la péninsule acadienne qui vient juste d'avoir des fonds pour travailler sur ça. Il avait déjà fait la planification et on le voit déjà en mouvement. J'espère de voir de grandes choses en 2023. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And so, to be clear, are you saying RDC is responsible for public transportation now in terms of, because it's true, we've been saying it for years, no one's really responsible for public transportation. So is RDC responsible then? And how is it going to be coordinated between regional service commissions? Because people travel outside of, across regional service commissions, they need to travel across the province. We need provincial networks. That's part of, we need to be able to travel in our communities and get other places too. So how is that coordination going to happen? Is it RDC?
So, as Mr. Chair, thank you for the question from the member of Memramcook-Tantramar. RDC does not own, they're there to support the regional service commissions. It's clearly outlined on point number 6 in developing and implementing a regional transportation plan. Once each region in New Brunswick have a plan, we will, Department of Local Government, coordinate with the regional service commissions. We meet on a bi-weekly basis, I think, and to look at a provincial network. I don't think we're there now. Right now, let's look at it on a regional level. The regional service commissions have 5 new responsibilities. Number 1 is economic development. Number 2 is tourism. Number 3 is regional transportation. Number 4 is community development. And number 5 is sharing of community service, community recreation facilities. So again, we're in this month and a half in the new local governance reform plan. So on the longer term, your wording is right, but on the short term right now for 2023, the objective is that RDC supports the regional service commissions in developing and implementing a regional service transportation plan.
Okay, and so it sounds like the province, aside from RDC supporting through funding, the province isn't going to really be playing a role, especially in the short term. And I'm concerned about the timelines, and I will be asking tomorrow about how much funding is going to be, making this happen, because there's a lot that RSCs are now responsible for. I want to ask a question. The minister earlier, when talking about different things that were coming forward, talked, read out ensuring New Brunswickers have equitable access to energy efficiency programs through long-term financing and or payment mechanisms by 2024. And I was wondering if the minister could please elaborate on that and whether that is connected with the item 35 from the original plan that talked about PACE, or property assessed clean energy programs, whether that's the pathway you might be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the MLA from Memramcook-Tantramar. So that was a 2-part question, so I'll answer part A first. It's been 239 years that New Brunswick has been in existence. This is the first month that we've had working on a regional transportation plan. So I think with local governance reform, we have been moving forward some files that people finally want us to move on. So for me, that's a positive. And when I see the objectives of having 2023 to making sure that some of our regional service commissions will have not only a plan, but they'll have some regional transportation, le transport en commun this year. Wow, that's unbelievable, actually. So I think we'll let it on that one. Regarding 8B, more specifically on, I don't want to punt it. However, my colleague tomorrow, I think, the Minister, Mr. Holland, which is the Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, regarding your question specifically more on 8B, to ensure New Brunswickers have equitable access to energy efficiency programs through long-term financing and payment mechanism by 2024 in collaboration with ME Power. I'm convinced that he will have a lot to say on that.